As a lot of y'all know, I am a frequent Southwest Airlines flyer, mainly due to their footprint in my home airport, Austin, Texas, as well as their just low cost and their bag fee policies as well. And last year, I got an average value of 1.49 cents per point for all of my Southwest flights, which, although I would not say that that is a bad redemption rate, I feel like I'm generally running low on Chase Ultimate Rewards points. So this year, I want to try out a few different strategies. Now, one of those strategies is exactly what I used to book a trip to Savannah, Georgia and Hilton Head, South Carolina recently, which is, of course, what this video is about today. And I was able to do that by using my Amex membership rewards points, transferred over to British Airways, and booking an American Airlines flight using British Airways Avios. In this video, I want to start by breaking down the concept of this strategy as a whole, because yes, it does work for this specific redemption I'm going to be talking about, but it also works for a lot of the other domestic airlines as well. And then secondly, I'll be showing a live example of booking one of these flights in this exact method. And then lastly, I'll be discussing my personal experience in using this method, as well as talking more about the trip I just took for those of y'all that do enjoy hearing about my travels, which at the end of the day, that's what this whole credit card game is about for a lot of us, right? With that being said, let's start with the concept. I'm sure that a lot of y'all watching this video are familiar with the concept of transfer partners, but if not, here's how that works. Most of the big lenders out there that we know very well, like American Express, Chase, Citi, Capital One, all have cards that earn what we call transferable currencies. So with those lenders I just mentioned, you have Chase Ultimate Rewards points, Amex membership rewards points, Citi's thank you points, and Capital One miles. And with the right cards with each of those lenders, you're able to convert those transferable currencies into the currency of the hotel or airline that you want to book with. And you do that by transferring them out, which is where we get the name transfer partners. And then once you do that, you're able to book that specific trip, either a hotel stay or a flight directly through that company's website and using their exact currency, which is usually where you're going to be finding much better deals than if you were to either book that flight or hotel through a travel portal or by cashing out your points and paying for that trip in cash. In general, cashback and travel portal redemptions are going to give you 1 cent per point, besides with Chase and their Sapphire cards through their portal, but that's besides the point here. But with transfer partners, you're able to effectively use your points to give you 2, 5, 10 plus cents per point, of course, depending on the exact redemption you make. But the ability to get that redemption rate is what makes transfer partners so valuable. I want to go ahead and pull a quick example here from my redemption recap video of 2023 that I made recently, where I stayed at a Hyatt in New Orleans during my road trip from Austin to South Carolina, specifically the Hyatt-centric French Quarter, New Orleans. I just was staying one night at this hotel, and the cash value for that night, if I was to pay in cash or with a credit card, but same thing, would have costed me $274. Now, in cashback form, at a 1 cent per point rate, I would need to use 27,400 points to make that booking. But by using my Chase Sapphire Preferred to transfer my Chase points over directly to Hyatt, I only needed to use 15,000 Hyatt points to make the same booking, which gave me a cent per point value of 1.82 cents per point. So as you can see, even with just that one booking alone, I saved over 12,000 points by just using a transfer partner and by booking using Hyatt specific currency rather than trying to use my Chase points through the travel portal or in cashback form. Now, this is not exactly a prime example by any means, but that's kind of the point of me sharing it. This booking was one that took almost no effort. I just searched for the exact day that I needed and found a Hyatt in New Orleans, and I got a much higher cent per point value than I would have gotten by booking in any other fashion. Okay, so now we have a basic understanding of transfer partners, but how does that extend into our specific redemption style here today? Well, every transfer partner is going to give you drastically different values, and the example I just gave showed why Hyatt is such a good transfer partner, but that's not the case for everybody. A lot of times, the exact partner that you want to book with is either going to give you a very low redemption rate. For example, transferring your Chase points over to Marriott points is usually only going to yield you roughly 0.84 cents per point, which you definitely do not want to do with your Chase points. Or also, sometimes you're just not going to have the cards from a lender that gives you access to the exact transfer partner you want to use. So for me, the latter is the case here with American Airlines. The only credit card point currency that transfers directly to American Airlines right now is Bilt. Now, I do actually have the Bilt card now, and maybe I can start to make some more of those direct redemptions, but I'd also rather use my Bilt points during their transfer bonus periods and all of that. But regardless, I did not have any access to American Airlines directly as of about a month ago. And considering American Airlines is one, if not the biggest domestic airline in the entire United States, I would imagine a lot of us want to use our hard-earned credit card points to book flights with American specifically. And luckily, there's a way to do exactly that with basically any point currency that you are currently earning in. But how do you do that, you may ask? Well, we have airline alliances to thank. American Airlines is part of the One World Alliance, made up of a bunch of other really big airlines that you've probably heard of, including the likes of Cathay Pacific, Iberia, Alaska, and our best friend for this strategy, British Airways. And luckily for us, British Airways is a transfer partner for basically every transferable currency out there, including lenders like Chase, American Express, Capital One, Citi, and more. And since British Airways is part of the One World Alliance, which is also the alliance that American Airlines is in, you can actually book American Airlines flights through British Airways website, which is a game changer. There is a catch with this though. Not every single American Airlines flight is on British Airways website, so the ability for you to actually make this happen is heavily dependent on your specific itinerary and how flexible you can be with the dates you leave and stuff like that. Also note that using this method, you will never actually deposit or transfer any points to your American Airlines account, and the furthest you will push your points is to your British Airways account. I just didn't want people to get confused early on and think that they're going to be able to deposit a lot of American Airlines miles. That's not exactly how this works, and obviously I'm going to show you exactly how this works in just a second. So at this point, I'm sure that you're understanding how awesome this is for us to be able to do with our specific example today. But remember, this is possible to do with a lot of the other domestic airlines as well. For example, you can book United flights using Air Canada's website since they are both part of the Star Alliance, and there are a lot more examples other than just that. I do plan on implementing more of these different types of transfers throughout the year, and I'm definitely going to keep you all updated on that. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, now's a good time to do so. Now, with the concept being well understood, let's discuss the process. To make this more concrete for y'all, I'm going to go through each one of these websites and show you exactly how you can do this yourself. Okay, so to start, I usually will come to Google Flights. That way I can see which airlines are going to help me get to the destination that I want to go to. And for our specific example here today, I'm going to go ahead and book a flight from Dallas to Philadelphia, departing from Dallas on Friday, May 3rd, and arriving back in Dallas on Sunday, May 5th. For full transparency, I specifically chose these two airports because they are both American Airlines hubs, and that does help us to book these flights, of course. But also, I could have done this from Austin to Philadelphia. There are just going to be less options whenever Austin is not an American hub. And I usually would be connecting through Dallas anyways, so this kind of just cuts out the middleman. But maybe I will actually be booking a flight to Philadelphia soon because I do still owe Daniel a visit. But if we scroll through here, we can see that there are quite a few American Airlines options here. So I have pretty good feeling that we can actually make this redemption happen. Now that we know that we should be able to book an American flight using this itinerary, we can come over to British Airways website. And by the way, if you don't have a British Airways account, you can create one for completely free. And you'll need to do that with British Airways, of course, but I would also do it for American Airlines if you haven't yet. That way you can move up in their boarding groups and also see all of your bookings from the American Airlines app and stuff. It just makes things simpler. But once you have created your account and you are logged in, you can see that in the top right, you're going to hover over the book tab and then click on book a flight with Avios. Now, once you're here, you're going to be brought to this screen, which is exactly what everybody should see. So of course, next we need to build out the same itinerary I just did on Google Flights. So from Dallas to Philadelphia, departing May 3rd and returning on May 5th. I'm also going to change the class to economy, but I guess you could leave it in first or whatever you wanted. And this is just for one passenger. Now I can click on get flights here and we can see if there are any options, which sometimes they're not. Okay, so this is good news. We can see that there are two nonstop flights that are operated by American Airlines that we can book using British Airways Avios. You will see sometimes that this business class box is also able to be clicked, but right now there are only economy tickets available. But if you wanted to book business class flights, this method would not change. You would just need more Avios in your account. So we're good on the outbound flights, but on the inbound, let's see. Yes, we do have 3 different options for this one, so even better than the outbound. And now you can see that these times are sometimes really just not that great. Like I don't necessarily want to fly out at 5 a.m. my time, but sometimes that might be your only option. So what we're going to do here is select a couple of times that actually might make sense. And I theoretically would not want to arrive super late on the day that I'm flying in. So let's just say I picked this 5:15 a.m. flight, got that one selected. And now for the inbound flight coming back home, I wouldn't want to fly out until later in the day. So we'll pick this 4:52 flight. And once we click on both of those, it's going to generate our cost for us. As you can see, it's going to cost us 29,000 Avios and $11.20 in taxes and fees. And if we wanted to proceed with this booking, we would click continue and go ahead and go through with the full booking process. Now, before we do that though, we definitely want to check the amount of points that we would need to use to book on American, as well as the cash price, so we can get a good simper point value for our points. So now is when we're going to go to our American Airlines account and try to book the exact same thing through them. Okay, so now I went ahead and logged in and filled in the exact same itinerary as we did in Google Flights at the beginning. I'm going to go ahead and search their cash prices to see what we would pay for the same flights. So as we can see here, we found the exact same outbound flight that we had on British Airways website, and we can go ahead and click on the main cabin seat here to add it to our total flight amount. And then now for the return flight, we know that one was at 4:52 p.m. So as you can see, main cabin once again, we can click on this right here, and then we get our summary screen right here that tells us we would be paying $494.19 to book this in cash. So remember that number because that's going to come into play for our cent per point calculation. But now let's do the exact same thing, but actually click on that use points button so we can see how much this would cost us in points. So I came back one screen, clicked on this redeem miles button here at the top, and I'm going to go ahead and search again. And then I'll click on the same outbound flight as well as the same returning flight to see that this would cost me 29,500 American miles and $11.20 in taxes and fees. So remember, going back to the British Airways website, we only needed 29,000 points, so technically saved 500 points by doing it in this method, but can also calculate our final cent per point redemption given these numbers to see if that's what we'd want to use our Amex points or whatever points for. By taking that total cash price of $494.19, subtract out that $11.20 in taxes and fees that would need to be paid if we booked in points, and divided by 29,000 points, which are the Avios we would need to use to make this booking, that would give us a cent per point value of 1.64. So whether or not that is a good redemption rate for you completely depends on your base redemption rate that you're willing to take for whatever currency you're trying to book in. So for example, for me, I have the Chase Sapphire Reserve on the Chase side, which raises my minimum to 1.5 cents per point. This is technically better than that, but if I was low on Chase points, I'd probably want to use a different points currency. And also remember that all of the points currencies out there will generally have transfer bonuses going on that may require you to only have to transfer, say, 70% of the points required to book this flight, and they will give you the additional amount, hence the bonus part of the transfer bonus, which might make that final cent per point value even higher. For example, if Amex was running a promotion right now, like they were back in December, where you got a 30% transfer bonus by transferring your Amex membership rewards points over to British Airways. What that means is that you would only need to use 70% of the points that this flight would cost because Amex is going to basically top off the rest for you before the transfer is made. So with our flight here requiring 29,000 British Airways Avios, you would only need to transfer over just 21,000 points to have 30,000 points show up in your British Airways account. If we only had to use 21,000 points for this booking, using our cent per point calculation formula once again, we would actually get a redemption rate of 2.3 cents per point. In my experience, I usually see British Airways as having some kind of transfer bonus going on, whether that's with Capital One or Chase or Citi or what have you. It's definitely very important to at least check these before making your transfer because you could save yourself a few thousand points. So at this point, if you were happy with that cent per point that you calculated, you could actually make that transfer directly through whatever lender you're wanting to transfer from. So for example, I'd go to my Amex account in this case and transfer over 29,000 Amex membership rewards points to British Airways Avios, assuming there's no transfer bonus going on. Those would show up in this account usually within the day for me. And then I could go ahead and go through with that booking and have an American Airlines flight completely funded using British Airways Avios. Now that we fully understand both the concept and the process, let me tell y'all about my personal experience, not only the booking that I made to Savannah, but also what I did while I was there. So the cash value of my specific American Airlines flight was $572.71, and the points cost for that flight was 38,500 British Airways Avios and $11.20 in taxes and fees. Yes, that is a ton of points for one round trip flight, but Savannah's airport is a bit of a weird one and there's not a ton of ways to get in and out of it besides using American. And I did not have any American Airlines cards or the Bilt card at that point, so my only real method to booking this flight was through British Airways. So that, plus the fact that I want to start using my Amex membership rewards points more for my domestic flights and just wanted to share this type of booking with y'all on the channel, made me feel pretty good about this redemption. Taking that $572.71 cost, subtracting out the $11.20 in taxes and fees, and dividing by 38,500 points, multiplying by 100, gives us a cent per point value of 1.46. So obviously that's not really great for American Express membership rewards points, but it is better than a 1 cent per point minimum. Could I have saved these points for a 5+ cent per point international business class flight? Sure. But if I had to sacrifice this trip that I took to Savannah and Hilton Head for some unforeseen trip that I may end up taking in the future, I'd regret that. Hence why I'm a big fan of actually just putting your points to use unless you have a very specific plan to use them in the future. I don't share my redemptions to tell you that you should be making the same exact ones. I just share them because they are my personal experience, and the whole point of my channel is sharing those personal experiences with y'all so you can make better informed decisions about your redemptions and your credit card additions and stuff like that. Okay, y'all. Sorry for jumping in here real quick, but there was a bit of a change of plans with this video. Originally, I had like a few minutes of me talking about exactly what I did during this trip, like I told y'all I would do at the beginning of this video. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought that but the majority of my audience probably didn't actually care to hear about that and would rather me be more to the point about how I made this redemption actually happen, which we've already covered. So what I'm going to do instead, not only for this exact trip recap, but for all the future ones to come, is to make members only videos about them instead. Of course, those won't be super highly edited and I just won't have to worry about retention and stuff like that. Plus, I think that the people that are members of my channel would really like to hear more about my personal experience with stuff like that, whereas some of the more casual watchers are more just there for the information. If you're thinking about maybe joining the membership, if you click on the link down in my description to see what the membership is all about, I've made a full video explaining who it is and isn't really for. But just to quickly let you know what you can get from the membership, of course, you're going to get access to these trip recaps that I'm talking about, but we also do bi-weekly members only Q&As, so you can get your questions answered by me very quickly, basically all the time. You're also going to get priority responses to all of your comments across my channel wherever you leave those, and that's just becoming more and more important as the channel continues to grow because I just can't get to all the comments all the time. You'll also get cool badges next to your name which help you stand out in the comment section, but they help you especially stand out in the live streams, which I'll be doing a lot more of this year. And there's more to the memberships than just that, and if you have more questions about it, you can always ask me about it or one of the other members that you see down in the comment section. So going back to the point of this interruption, I do think it makes more sense for me to do the actual trip recaps, like my day-to-day activities on those trips, through my members only videos, since that's more in line with what my members would like to see compared to my general audience. If you do join the membership after watching this, thank you for doing so, and I'm excited to talk to you there. Overall, for the 10% of people that are still watching at this point, I hope that through this video you were able to see exactly how you can make memories just like I did, even if you came into this video not realizing that you could maybe use your Amex points to book American Airlines flights. And if you want to hear more about my other redemption experiences and get you excited to make some more of your own, I'll direct you into this playlist next. Unfortunately, I do not have Odin with me here today, but if he was, he'd want to say thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel, and I'll catch you guys next time.